Hey, it's Doris with All the Books, and it's been a minute, but I just am trying to get caught up today before I go out of town. And so now here are the books that I finished last week. And it's almost the end of another week. Oops. But anyway, yeah, I've been cranking through the books this month, and I've read some really good ones. So I went ahead and read Theyre by Tommy Orange, which I hauled in the mega haul last month. And this book is stunning. It is truly stunning. And one thing I will say about this week's little stack of books is it's really a collection of the various reasons why I read books. I'm a very eclectic reader, and that's because I go to books for different reasons. Totally. Now, this one completely fed my literary fiction love. This is so literary. And yeah, it fed my social intrigue angle. I'm very interested in social issues. This fed that as well. So Tommy Orange is an urban Native American author from the West Coast, and this book centers around about 12 different characters, their perspectives as they prepare for a big Oakland powwow. And this one, it's very important that its own voices. So what Tommy Orange does is he looks at every single negative stereotype that you can possibly think of within the Native American community, which, you know, if that had been written by anyone else, it might be perceived as negative for him to have done that. But what he does is he makes you see the humanity behind all of these issues. I just thought it was stunning. I mean, the prologue was gorgeous. There's some little essay bits scattered throughout, and the prologue was somewhat like that. And then the first chapter, for example, he describes dyslexia in the most poetic and spot on, made me understand visual way. Yeah. So, I mean, I could just go on and on, but I don't want this is to be 20 minutes long, but I just absolutely, from a literary perspective, I loved this. The other thing to consider is, especially when I'm reading literary fiction, is to consider the author's perspective. So the end of this book, the last, 15-20%, kind of falls apart from a story perspective. So if you're reading for characterization, you may love this. If you're reading for the narrative and you're concerned about the plot and the story, this might not be the book for you, because it does fall apart in the end, and you may not love it for that reason. You may not like it for that reason. And I thought about it, it's one of those books where I was like, did I like that, the way that ended? In a day removed, I decided I really did, because, and I'll get to it with the next book, but from the author's perspective, he is speaking to the urban Native American in the U.S., in our society, and their story is a bit on shaky ground. Yes, so this was great. I just thought he did a great job, truly. And then Heidi and I, our nonfiction buddy read this month was The Inconvenient Indian by Thomas King. Now, Thomas King is one of those writers that I really appreciate. He's got a really dry, sharp wit. As you can only imagine, some of the things that he talks about in this book are just, they're sad, they're depressing. I am of the mindset that European colonialists, stole this land from the people that were living here and built it on the backs of people that we stole from other countries. So this book kind of feeds into my thought processes. I learned so much more than I knew from high school history classes. And the second half was fairly info dumpy at times and fairly kind of depressing, if I'm going to be quite honest, but very realistic and necessary and important information. But he couches it in his little brand of humor, and yeah, it was a great read as well. I thoroughly appreciated it. Then, thankfully, on a lighter note, now that last book was, for knowledge. Sometimes I read for knowledge and information. This one was one that I read to be entertained and to feel good. This is a feel-good read. Now, yes, this old man, this is a book about a crabby old man who he's always been a loner, an outsider looking in, and likes it that way, except for the love of his life, the extroverted wife that was the color in his world. And this is the story of, when you lose that one person that means the most to you, and you lose your desire to live and community and, quirky things that happen in life. And there's a cat. There were times that I was completely, just truly laughing out loud. Truly. There were so many heart-touching moments. I was just talking about this with two of my new coworkers. I am doing inclusion English with an English 1 teacher and an English 3 teacher who are both very literary, and it's so exciting. But the English 3 teacher read this last year, and she just gushed about it when she found out I was reading it. She just couldn't wait for me to finish so she could talk about it with me. The English 1 teacher, we were talking about it yesterday because she hasn't read it yet. And she says she's heard mixed things about it, which I can see that. I would say, if you want a feel-good book with a great narrative, this book never slows down. This would be a good book for you. And it is similar to Eleanor Oliphant in that, there are those mixed reviews. Some people hate Eleanor Oliphant, and a lot of people, it's the best book ever. So this was similar to that, I would say. The same kind of feel to it. But yeah, this book made me happy. And I would probably say that there are a couple of books in this stack that you are going to see on my top 10 at the end of the year. Definite potential for that. This, however, is not one of them. So this would be a book that you would read, not exactly from a moral sense, but for an inspirational sense, motivational sense. Definitely. And I totally get why a lot of people love this book. This is very much a beloved book out in the world. But for me, on that inspirational slash motivational plane, which is I think what you need to connect with this, it just didn't work for me. I just didn't connect with the motivation and the inspiration in it, so that was unfortunate. So I'm just gonna say I did finish. You know, I have DNF'd this month, which is uncharacteristic for me. I did finish this one, definitely I did, and it's not that long, but I just, on a literary sense, the writing I found completely uninspiring. It was very simplistic in the writing and in the story. It was almost written like, it felt to me like a middle grades level with the read. And I don't mind reading middle grades books, but I just didn't connect with the story. And yeah, it just bored me so much. And I'm not wanting to be negative about the book if you loved it. I'm just saying if I had connected thematically, it would have worked for me, but I didn't, so it didn't work for me. So there's that. And that's all I read last week. So since this one didn't do it for me, I'm unhauling this one because it really, really didn't do it for me. So yeah, that helps with the numbers game. So stay tuned for my TBR talk video next week. Let's see how that turned out. Ooh. Anyway, my lighting is almost gone. Thanks so much for watching, and I will be back soon. Bye.